we were really keen on trying to understand the presence of a lot of these emerging chemicals in Florida. And as we all know, Florida water is really key. It's key for a lot of different reasons. Drinking water, of course, but it's important for our environment, our wildlife. It's important for agriculture, it's important for industry, and it's also important for tourism. We're supremely interested in are these per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, or PFAS. Their use is predominantly focused on this idea that they're virtually indestructible. These are chemicals that are used in many industrial and commercial applications for their resistant or barrier-like properties. So they're found in things like popcorn bags, clothing, nonstick pans, and food packaging, where you don't want grease or other components to bleed through the packaging. When their lifetime is over or when they release into the environment, they've built up over time, and they are now present in pretty much every person, every environmental sample, every wildlife sample that we've collected. And so there's a lot of really important research that needs to be done in terms of what adverse health effects they have on the environment and human health.
Across the country, the Defense Department found potential PFAS contamination at 401 bases, chemicals the government acknowledges may be linked to cancer and other health issues.
A new study by the Environmental Working Group shows PFAS, a dangerous and potentially cancerous chemical, has spread to nearly every state's drinking or groundwater supply.
What exactly is in our water? That's the question weighing heavy on the minds of families living in certain spots of Brevard County.
More than a dozen cases of cancer have been reported in Brevard County.
And there's a trend among the patients. They're all graduates of Satellite High School.
In 2013, my uncle who lived with us, he was not blood related. He was married into the family. Our family dog, my little brother at the age of 21, myself at the age of 28, and my father were all diagnosed with cancer. So that's what began my entire life into this advocacy work. And from the moment I was told I was in remission in 2014, I began searching for answers. By my story, I was able to find so many other families just like ours. And we kind of built our own community of people that were going through the same thing. And it was just an incredible movement to start with. We were able to push for the Brevard County Cancer Assessment. And that assessment actually did show that there were higher than normal cases, particular cancer cases. And it started from there and ended up to where we're at now, finding perfluorinated compounds in our water. And so with Patrick Air Force Base, in 2018, the Department of Defense report came out. It said 4.3 million parts per trillion of perfluorinated compounds. And when you look at the EPA standard, which isn't even enforceable, it's 70 parts per trillion, just 70. So really hitting that home, like million, like that's how much more it is than the safety limit says. And so we thought, if this is in the groundwater at Patrick Air Force Base, it's gotta be in the drinking water. It's gotta be in the groundwater next door. It doesn't just stay in one particular area.
They do transport in water. They can bioaccumulate through food chains. So if you eat fish, fish have these perfluorinated chemicals, and as the food chain increases up to humans, you have this bioaccumulation of these chemicals, meaning that every step in the food chain, these concentrations get larger. But they also travel in the atmosphere through, and they can come back down to the earth in rain. Wherever it is in the environment, in the soil, sediment, water, air, they don't break down, they don't go away. So as we continue to keep using them, as they continue to be released into the environment, the problem continues to get worse.
It is nearly impossible to stop your exposures from this chemistry, because we have allowed ourselves to use this chemistry unfettered in nearly every aspect of human life. DuPont for 4 decades had been dumping Gen X into our river, which is our primary source of drinking water. Our goal is to build public awareness around PFAS chemicals and exposures, and we are pushing for stronger regulations surrounding the use and contamination of this chemistry. We're committed to fighting DuPont and Chemours and holding elected leaders accountable. And let me tell you, a lot of people don't like doing that last statement, holding elected leaders accountable, but this is our river. These are our government bodies, and they respond to us.
The battle to clean up PFAS in a lot of these communities across the country really has been a battle. What's interesting is in Florida, we conducted a study and we found that 2 of the top 10 highest concentration facilities were actually in Florida. The concentration of the PFAS in the water in those areas is really high, so it's really the tip of the iceberg. It is not something that the industries responsible for the pollution have taken on easily and proactively. They actively buried the science that showed the health effects. Communities nearby really should be notified. There should be a lot of remediation efforts to make sure that the drinking water in those communities is safe, not just now, but also in the future. You know, what's really important is that we have a federal drinking water standard that's enforceable, so that places like Florida that aren't necessarily setting these more strict standards, there's one federal really strong standard to best protect all of us in the United States. If PFAS is designated as a hazardous waste, then we can get prioritization of cleanup of sites that are contaminated with PFAS. PFAS is a poster child of what can go wrong. So we need to kind of flip the script on our regulatory process and start to imagine policies that require industry to submit sufficient evidence showing that a product is not going to harm human health before it's introduced on the market.
I just want to ensure that no other families and no other child is drinking the same tainted water, is being exposed still to this day. And if we can stop it, that's saving lives.